what it is when you allow outside sources that don't come from a trusted plug, or it doesn't come from the divine itself, to determine and affect your overall sense of self and worth and value, in what you deem to be right and wrong, and what you know to be true and false. When people speak about monitoring spirits, these are folks who are walking around with demonic entities that have one purpose and one mission, is to gather information and go back and report it. They so you might think that these people are being nosy. You might think that these people are just haters and this, that, and the third. They are operating under the influence of a monitoring spirit. That monitoring spirit takes the information that the person is getting, goes back to the general, and sends someone else or something else in a different form to complete a different mission. Let me bring Pat back up here. I know you were
Right.
about to you're about to go into another train of thought, so I don't want to interrupt what you were saying. I was just adding on a little bit to your
Okay.
context, but continue.
Yeah. Apologies, my connection got disrupted for some reason. I don't know. That's another confusion in its own. That's part of the spirit of confusion. All right. So I was saying earlier, it manifests in our lives in different ways. Yeah. Um, but the root source of it always starts in the mind because that's the birthplace where everything germinates as a seed. And if we can counter and battle it at that level, then we've halfway won the battle already. Because from then onward, we can now set, okay, this doesn't belong to me. This belongs to something else. I don't know. This has nothing to do with the present moment. Then we can do away with that. But this takes some sort of skill and training too, I believe. Because if you're not used to understanding the content of your mind at a given time, you're bound to just keep thinking it's me. I mean, I thought of this. I just thought of doing this and doing that. And but if you could just go deeper sometimes and just take a look at the like, is this really me? Did I really bring that thought up? Is that my thought form? Then you start to think, oh, okay, I saw this on the TV. The commercial said this earlier on. Oh, now I see where this train of thought started from. This is not mine. Then you can just pick it and throw it away or something. Do away with it. Then you start to have a clearer mind. Then gradually with practice, you have a mind is not easily confused at any given point in time.
I want to add, in addition to that, your mind and its subconscious is always warring with your heart. I
Definitely.
don't know how you feel about this, and I'm gonna take a stab at it, and I'm gonna say that the heart and the mind have entirely different consciousnesses. Where, and I know it's gonna sound kind of extreme,
Big
but
contradictory, yeah?
yeah, but here's the thing, right? When a person is thinking off the top of their head how they're going to react or respond to someone, they're typically using their cerebral cortex to process what they're hearing and what they're observing. When a person is, like, if I said something that offended someone and they took time to respond to me, I think they're more or less using their common sense. When a person responds emotionally and irrationally, they're coming from a place of allowing their heart and how it made them feel determine how they're going to interact moving forward after what was said. So, like if a person said to you that they like you, but that's just lip service, but they're in their heart they really can't stand you and they hate you. I think those are just entirely two different um consciouses, and I don't even know if that's a word, consciousness, but
Well,
I'm gonna use it anyway.
okay, I get your point. I get what you're driving at, but would you say it's consciousness or it's just frequency slash vibrations? I think because consciousness, like, it's kind of depicting two separate entities, but they're not separate, right? They are the same persons, but different vibrational frequencies. So, for example, somebody responding versus somebody reacting is a different thing. So when you answer immediately, so someone calls you whatever you don't like and gets very derogatory, you can respond or you could react to that. So I think when it's coming from the brain, you're um, responding to that. You're taking time to think about it. How do I want to respond to this? How do I handle this? What's the best thing for me to do in this moment? That's you responding. But once it hits your emotions off the wall, immediately you're reacting and you're going ballistic almost immediately. Like, what do you mean this, that? And that's you reacting without even processing the information you have at hand. You just reacting. That it's very emotional when you're reacting that way. But when you're responding, you're taking your time. You That's like chilling and just looking at it. How do you respond to this? So I wouldn't say it's different consciousness. It just hmm, there's a right word for that. Maybe just different vibrational frequency. Because anyways, both are just thought forms regardless. And how you're just manipulating them is where the work is. Do you let it just eat you off, or does you respond with your brain? That's Let's call that consciousness number one, or you want to think about it, and that comes from a deeper place than just your brain.
So, do you think that the a double tongue or double minded person is operating under the same frequency? Because I know that God says he doesn't look at what we look at. He reads the heart,
Definitely. Yeah.
and the heart tells an entirely different story.
Hmm.
So if the heart is really telling the truth, what is the mind doing?
Yeah, good one. So if the heart is telling the truth, the mind is hmm, maybe processing, trying to take a stand. Which way do we go from here? Do we go left or do we go right? While the brain is busy doing its own and the mind is getting deeper. The thing is, the problem with the subconscious mind is it already has preconceived answers deep down there, because we're creatures of habit, right? So it already have preconceived ideas, answers to almost everything, because it resides in the subconscious, which is the largest part of the human consciousness. Actually, actually one of the most powerful too. It's even more powerful than the conscious mind, because it's the powerhouse of every habit and including our characters as well. So from that deep point, which is the mind, it may be processing things at that time. Okay, what ready answers do we have available for this kind of situation? Oh, just do this what you do normally. You could just, you know, it kicks it off to the forefront, to the conscious mind, and goes with whatever you already have in the programming of the subconscious. And that's usually where people respond from. Though people react from, not responding. People react from that point when they already have the mind fixed about something. No, and this could have come about from maybe upbringing, the background of the person in question. Um, you know, a lot of things come into forming that since we were kids. Our families or environment and all that. A lot comes into that concoction to create that character that we have to respond or to react. But at the end of the day, they're all just vibrational frequencies and thought forms. I think, in my perspective, I think that's just what it is.
Since we're talking about the spirit of confusion, I have another question, a follow-up question. Do you think that people associate being confused with a invisible outlier, or or do they contribute it to just people being people? Because oftentimes I have a discussion with someone, they always want to associate a lot of the issues that they kind of build up over time. They add it on to it have something to do with just the person being the person. It doesn't have nothing to do with anything other than the person is just who they are because that's how they whatever. And I'm more yeah. I,
That's a deep one.
I'll let
That's a deep one, and a bit tricky to nail, because it's hard at times to differentiate between the two. Are you just confused, or is it you, or is it something external? Are you under the influence of a spirit, or what's really going on down there? Well, I think it's both of them. You might be definitely be under the influence of something. I don't know, given the situation, but on the other hand, um, it's just like I said earlier. It still backpedals to the subconscious mind. What kind of upbringing have you had? Is it all this comes into the concoction that forms a personality that um, makes you respond or react to whatever situation at any given time? Because it's easy to claim it's the influence of something and it's just not you, and it's some spirits or something. But how do you know? We can actually prove if it's some spirits or something. You can't actually prove it. It's we don't have the instrument for that yet. So but the actual situations whereby it's actually, in case of exorcism and stuff like that, that's the extreme cases, obviously, and we're not talking about that one here, that part here. Um, but in the traditional way, in the normal way we observe it, it's more or less like you not having a clear mind, sorry, not having a clarity of thoughts to begin with. It will be easier to judge from a person who predominantly lives as a very clear-headed person, as regards someone who's always backpedaling every now and then. Now they're hot, now they're cold, now they're hot, now they're cold. So it's a different scenario for both of them, and it's kind of tricky and hard to actually pick which is which, at any given time. Well, if you're going by the scriptures, the Bible tells us we wrestle not with flesh, but with spirits and powers and principalities. So we could fall under that umbrella, that's the devil at work whenever you're confused, and that's just not you, and that's the devil, and that's when you need to pray and this and that, which still that's valid as well. So I think it goes both ways. Either ways, it's still it's a thing.
I I invite you to at least hear this out, right? Because you said something a few minutes ago about not being able to definitively prove that the spiritual realm is legitimate. We've all had different experiences with life and death. Some people may not have ever come into contact with any type of experience whatsoever. I would say that one clear sign that you know that the spiritual aspect of it is real is just by listening to yourself.
Mm.
You don't talk. You're not on the phone with people all day. You're not
Okay.
in people's faces all day. So What happens when you're alone by yourself? You're thinking. And what are
Thinking,
you
yeah.
doing when you're thinking? You're actually talking to yourself. There's a audible voice going off in your head all day. Even when you're around people, you have thoughts going on in your head all day. You're getting images of things. You're seeing things. You're seeing things that isn't presently in your face. You're conjuring different aspects of outcomes and scenarios with your future and with your past. You're thinking about memories and moments. I would even go as far as to say that is enough proof right there to show you that there's something beyond what we see right now that should show you that this is real. But
Well,
um,
definitely
what
there's something beyond the physical. That's reasonable doubt.
I mean, just really think about how power. First of all, think about how powerful the soul itself is. What is the soul? You know what I'm saying? The brain is such a powerful tool that we don't properly access all of it. If we could, like if we were really in harmony with our mind, spirit, and we had full control over our body, what would that look like? How will we see the world? You know,
Mm,
um, the power of suggestion is in everything, from conversations to promotions to advertisements, from TV, from post,
mm,
and the fact that you even the fact and Strav, he just said it here. The fact that you even have to wrestle with doing what one voice is saying versus what the other voice is saying is a telling sign that there are other things happening in the moment that we don't understand all the way. And I think one of the reasons why confusion works so effectively is because we associate it with what's in front of us so much. But you know,
true.
that's just my take.
But I think the way I see it, I don't think it's coming from within per se. I get the part that we talk to ourselves. There's a spirit. Definitely, there's a dimension within. There's a being. There's a spirit within. When you think, when you communicate with your mind, and all. But in terms of the spirit of confusion, I think is more or less like subscribing to, say, you have a satellite and you're on the frequency, you can get channel the signals from that entity in this case. So I think it's not really intrusive unless you subscribe to that frequency. So I think it's more or less like
I think he just had another hiccup with his connection. So I'm gonna give him a second to reboot. Strav said, if we had full control and unison, we would see the world as the same canvas that God saw when He created it instead of being subjected to its whims. I honestly believe it. Like I told this story before, and it's not really a story. So I'll speak on one of them, right? This version of it, of the world that I saw, this version of the world that I saw, it looks just like this, right? But I had X-ray, like my spirit was enhanced. I had like an X-ray vision, and I could pierce through this shell that is covering our eyes. Like you've heard of the veil. I could pierce through the veil, and looking through this veil, I see the regular world with you and everyone else in it, but I can look through houses, I can look through people, I can look up and down the street, I can look through traffic, I can look in people's vehicles as they're driving on buses, I can see the descension and ascension of angels coming to and fro. I can see the demonic spirits, small, tall, teeny, huge. I can see these demonic spirits hovering over certain houses. I can see them at doors trying to get into houses. I can see some houses have a certain consonance to it that indicates that they have a lot of um, demonic influence over it, where you can tell that the people are under oppression, under attack. I could see houses where people pray so much that the wickedness that is trying to get in the cracks, they can't get in because someone is praying. They're constantly praying, and the angels that are descending from heaven, they are fighting and warring with those demonic spirits